Welcome to the Crop Insurance Podcast, the podcast where we dive deep into the world of crop insurance. I'm your host, Mike Rydell, a third-generation crop insurance agent, and I'm thrilled to have you join me on this educational journey. At our family-owned and operated business, we've been providing crop insurance expertise for generations. Our goal here is simple, to educate our listeners. Crop insurance can be complex and overwhelming, but I believe that understanding it is crucial for every farmer. So whether you're a seasoned farmer looking to stay updated or a newcomer seeking guidance, this podcast is for you. Let's take a moment to thank some of our sponsors of the Crop Insurance Podcast. Our title sponsor, McNeil Insurance Agency, are probably your greatest insurance agents ever. They specialize in federal crop insurance and have since 1979. To visit their website, go to www.greatestagencyever.com. The McNeil Insurance Agency is a proud partner with the Crop West Insurance Group. Welcome to today's episode where we'll be talking about the contract price addendum or the contract price option, however you would like to phrase it, utilizing a contract you have on your various crops in order to increase your projected price on your federal crop insurance policy. Before we get started, let's take a look at what the definition of the contract price addendum is from our friends over at RMA.
The Contract Price Addendum, CPA, allows you, as a certified organic or transitional producer with a written contract from a buyer by the acreage reporting date to insure your crop at the contract price. You can buy a federal crop insurance guarantee which more closely reflects the actual value of your certified organic or transitional crop. You have the choice, where available, to use either the contract price or the published Risk Management Agency (RMA) price as the crop insurance projected price or price election.
First things first, in their definition, you'll notice that they mention organic or transitional producers. While that is the case that if you are an organic or a transitional organic producer, you can use the contract price addendum in order to increase your federal crop insurance price. But there are traditional and non-organic crops as well that utilize the contract price addendum. In order to find out which crops are available to use the contract price addendum, you'll want to take a look at your county actuarials. Now, if you go to our website at thecropinsurancepodcast.com, there you'll see an article about contract price addendum, and we have a link to the county actuarials there. We also include that link in many of our other articles, so be sure to check those out. One thing you definitely want to pay attention to when looking at your county actuarials, don't just pay attention to the crop, also pay attention to the variety, because there are some crops where there are different varieties within that crop where contract price is available for some and not others. So that's very important to pay attention to. Now, when you need to add this endorsement by or this option by is the sales closing deadline for the applicable crop. You have to add it by that deadline. Once you've added it to your policy, you then have until the applicable acreage reporting deadline to submit the contract to then get that projected price on your policy. So speaking of the projected price and how the contract price addendum works, it's fairly straightforward. If you have a contract that provides a fixed price for the contracted production, the projected price will be the contract price. Now, keep in mind that they do take into account the weighted average price. If you listen to our malt barley endorsement episode, we went over weighted average prices in several examples, but we'll cover it again just in case. A quick way to figure out if you'll be able to use 100% of your contracted price is to take a look at your contract. On your contract, you'll see your total number of bushels contracted. Take that total number of bushels and divide it by 100% of your approved yield. That will give you your total contracted acres. Is that number greater than the number you planted or less than? If that number is greater than the number of acres you seeded, then you're okay, because that means that you've contracted the minimum amount in order to get 100% of that contracted price. Now, if that number is less than the acres you have seeded, that means you run into a scenario where you have contracted acres and non-contracted acres. So you'd have to take the weighted average in order to figure out what that price is going to be on your policy. All you do for that is you take the contracted acres and multiply it times the contract price. You then take the non-contracted acres and multiply it times the underlying projected price on the policy. You add those two figures together and then divide by the total acres. That will give you your weighted average price. Now, the same math formula can be used if you have multiple contracts on the policy to figure out what that weighted average price is going to be that you're going to use. And at the end of the day, you're going to come up with your contract price, which will be used as your projected price for your policy going forward, depending on whether you're in yield protection or revenue protection. When it comes to yield protection and revenue protection, if you're in yield protection, there's nothing else you need to do in regards to a harvest price because there isn't one. You just use your projected price and you either harvest above your guarantee, so your coverage level times your approved yield, or you do not harvest above your guarantee. So that's how you figure out if you have a loss on yield protection. For revenue protection, in using the contract price, you're going to utilize a harvest price. There is a nice formula for that, and it's just simply you take your contracted price minus the underlying policy's projected price, and then you add the underlying policy's harvest price. Again, if you need a visual aid for this, head over to our website where we show that formula in a nice little infograph, and then we also walk through some examples carrying out the math so you can see the difference when the harvest price goes up and when the harvest price goes down. If you need help in determining how a loss is figured out in yield protection or revenue protection, you can go to our website where we have some articles on that, and we also have a previous podcast episode about that as well. Just know that if you have contract price and you're able to use it with your crop and you're in revenue protection, you do get to still utilize that harvest price to determine if there's a loss in revenue on your crop, just like you normally would under revenue protection. While the contract price addendum is an excellent tool for organic producers to get additional pricing on their policy, you can also utilize it in a non-organic crop situation as well. You just need to make sure you check with your county actuarials or your crop insurance agent to find out which crops in your area are available to use a contract price. From my family to yours, thank you very much for listening. I sincerely hope that this presentation has been instrumental in enhancing your understanding of federal crop insurance. If you find value in our podcast, we kindly encourage you to subscribe and spread the word among your friends and neighbors. To access further information, please visit our website at thecropinsurancepodcast.com, where you'll find the latest podcast episodes, articles, and exciting new features conveniently located in one place. This information is not all-inclusive and is meant to be used only as general guidelines for educational purposes. For additional information, please see crop provisions, reference the Crop Insurance Handbook or Loss Adjustment Manual, or contact your crop insurance agent. This institution is an equal opportunity provider and employer.